something that I inherited from my mother was being a disciplinarian, being perfect in everything that you do. And somewhere, this driving excellence as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, as a daughter in law, I guess it was almost like being a superhuman being.
The myth of a supermom.
Absolutely. It was, you didn't want to drop the ball in any of the roles that I was playing at that point in time. Juggling was, I must admit, was very stressful. Having it all, or being a super mom requires tremendous amount of energy, resilience, patience, and it's not easy to sustain, on an ongoing basis. And that is why unrealistic standard of perfection that many of us, are always left with the feeling of failure.
What if I told you that juggling motherhood and the high-powered career isn't about doing more? It's about knowing when to drop the ball. Today, we are unpacking the messy, beautiful truth behind balancing ambition, family, and self-care. My guest is Shaily, is a powerhouse HR leader, executive coach, and mom who spent over 3 decades mastering the art of intentional juggling. From engineering at BITS Pilani, India, to leading global teams and coaching women leaders, Shaily's story is full of bold choices, tough lessons, and the kind of wisdom every busy mom needs to hear. Hello, I'm Edith, and welcome to my community, the Juggleverse, Moms Balance It All. Before we jump in, grab your coffee and do me a favor. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a mom who is juggling it all, just like you and me. Shaily, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Edith. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
To be honest, you are a more experienced mom than I am because you already have an adult daughter.
Yes.
So can you lean back already?
Mother remains a mother forever. It doesn't stop anytime. It's just that later on it becomes a habit and you do a great job.
Oh, that's bad news, I think. Or, well, it depends from where you are looking at, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You started as an engineer and there was a U-turn to HR. Would you please share how you ended up at this position and this type of job?
Oh, that's very interesting. So, yes, as you said in my introduction, I studied, engineering from one of the leading engineering schools, BITS Pilani in India. And I moved to HR by choice, not by accident. While I was working with the company called DCM Group, I got selected as a management trainee with them. And one of their professors there who was taking our micro lab, who were taking our management trainee program, he had set up ISAP therapy labs and ISTD, and he was a very accomplished person. When I was undergoing micro lab, I realized that there is a whole science to behavior and how organization behavior can build cultures and get the best out of people. And I asked for my posting in human resources just out of curiosity. And the managing director then honored my request. And that is how my journey in HR started.
But you don't regret it, right?
Not at all. I'm so passionate about it. During my career, multiple times I was offered to move to business. But my love for human resources and how to get the best by unlocking potential in human beings and how the culture of the organization can get the best out of people and grow businesses, my conviction in this philosophy has stayed. And there is so much more to be done in this space. We have not yet completed or explored the full potential. So not at all.
You describe your family as progressive and empowered, right? How does it look like in an everyday situation in your family?
So, as I say that I've been living with one husband and one daughter for more than 30 plus years. That gives away the age that my daughter is now 30 years old, married. It's a highly empowered family. We do have discussions and free discussions and debates over the dinner table. I can share a small one example of one such debate. During our dinner table conversation, my daughter was talking about some hardship at workplace, and I happened to say that, oh, yours is a strawberry generation, have very little resilience for these were very common things during our career or during my part of growing up in my career. She did not take to this statement very kindly. And she had a very strong perspective, and which was an eye opening session for me. She did say that during our growing up, a lot of decisions are left to us by you. It's your choice. You would share the perspective and ask us to take decisions. So we operated a lot in gray at a very young age. We learned to take decisions, and that was not easy. Whereas your generation, your mom had very clearly told you what to wear, what time you need to be back at home, what you would pursue in your career. There were very clear boundaries which were set, and you would strictly follow that. So much more easier for you to live with those boundaries and operate.
If you have the framework, right?
If you have the framework. And whereas in our case, as a part of my growing up, you were expecting me to develop a framework. You were just sharing the perspective with us. So who's got more resilience, you or I? You won't believe it, Edit. Next day, I went back to office because I was heading a team of more than 60 people at that point in time. I did have a lot of Gen Z in my team. And I said, somewhere my mindset of this, that me thinking about them being strawberry must be coming out in my communication or in my career coaching to them. I actually drafted a whole email apologizing to the team and bringing this new learning to the fore, and sent the message to the entire HR team. So yes, as I said, that there is a lot of reverse mentoring, a lot of debates on the table, heated discussions. We enjoyed our dinner discussions.
You've worn so many hats, right? As an HR leader, as a mom, as a wife as well, even as a daughter or a daughter-in-law. How could you manage all these juggling acts, especially when your daughter was a little child?
Yeah, the multiple hats has been difficult because, something that I inherited from my mother was being a disciplinarian, being perfect in everything that you do. And somewhere, this driving excellence as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, as a daughter-in-law, I guess it was almost like being a superhuman being.
The myth of a supermom.
Absolutely. It was, you didn't want to drop the ball in any of the roles that I was playing at that point in time, which was, I think, was very, very difficult because they were long hours. You wouldn't share the difficulties that you were having as a mother raising her. At work, you would come across as being a perfect, in the moment kind of a person and a professional. At home, you wanted to contribute 100% and make sure that your child is well-dressed, well-educated, has done the homework well. You wanted to be there everywhere. So that juggling was, I must admit, was very stressful. While doing these multiple roles as a wife, daughter, daughter-in-law, there had been some challenges. Let me share another story with you. My daughter was just 6 years old. And she, every summer vacation, we had moved from Delhi to Bombay. Every summer vacation, we would pack her off to her grandmother's place where she was very happy. She loved her grandparents. And in fact, she started traveling as an unaccompanied minor. And she would travel alone she'll take a flight alone as an unaccompanied minor and go visit Delhi. During the summer vacation, after the vacation, the friends in the school would have a lot to share, that they went to Spain, they went to Italy, and my daughter wouldn't have anything new to share because she'd say, oh, I went to my grandmother's place again, which was not fine with her. And she did complain in a very nice way that both of you are never there for my summer vacation, because for both of us to take 2 month long off was very difficult.
And impossible maybe that time.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And more so for me as an HR professional, because usually the performance cycle would be in the month of April, increment cycle. And post bonus announcements, you wanted to stay on to see how the organization is reacting to the increment and promotions that we have just announced and stay on board for any crisis situation. And this feeling of, I need to be there in the organization was so high, that this organization is dependent on me was so high, that we wouldn't take a summer break. We would go for a break during long weekends or whenever it was professionally convenient to both of us. It's the first time he and I then decided, my husband and I decided, that this is not the impression we want her to live with, that my parents were never there when I was growing up. We need to change this narrative, and we need to make sure that every summer, whatever happens, we are going to spend 2 weeks of our time with her, because 2 weeks is long enough for her to fondly remember that we were there with her. And till I think she got married or till she left for college, every summer we have spent together. Minimum 2 weeks. Much later, it could have been even longer after she graduated from college. But during her summer break, we were always there for minimum 2 weeks, and we would plan our holidays in advance. There had been situation once for my husband. He had his global chairman in town, and he was tempted to kind of stay back. And then both of us discussed the same, that your global chairman may or may not remember you, but your daughter would remember that you canceled that holiday. So which is more important?
Very true, very true. But you also had a story you mentioned me with the swimming pool, that you didn't know actually that your daughter could swim already.
Yes.
You were surprised. How was that story?
Yes. And I think that is another messaging I would want to give to mothers, that many a times when you think that you're not spending your personal attention or personal time, their learning could be stunted. They may not learn as much. In two such events, I was pleasantly surprised. One was I was at the club over a weekend talking to my friend sitting by the pool, and my daughter in her swimming costume was running around the pool, knowing in my heart that she doesn't know diving, so she's not going to take chance. And she just jumped into the pool. My heart sank and I ran towards, and my friend looked at me and she said, she has been an ace swimmer. And why are you so scared? And God forbid, even if she didn't know swimming, there are so many of us around here, including the lifeguard, that somebody would jump in and help. So you have to keep your fears to yourself and not pass it on to her. And she is like a fish to water. And I don't even know when she learned that swimming, because every evening she would be going to the club to be with her friends. And along with them, she learned new skill, which as a mother, I wasn't even aware because I was at work. And I got to know about it accidentally. Similar situation happened was when we went to US. This friend of ours, his daughter was going for her skating classes. And my daughter decided to join her. She was 8 or 9 years old. And I was like telling her, why don't you rent out the 4-wheel shoes for your skating ring, because you don't know how to skate. And she insisted on a single blade. And I'm like, you would fall, you would hurt yourself. And she would like assure me and tell me that, Mom, leave it to me, I can, And she took that single, blade rollers, and she was flying in the skating ring. I was like so surprised. When did she learn this? So I think, again, as a super mom, we think that whatever we do the best, and we don't leave things for our kids. They are learning so much more from the environment, with their friends, from the school. A highly controlled environment may restrict their growth. We may pass on our own fears or our own likes and dislikes, which could stunt their growth. That was my learning in a retrospect at that moment.
So it means being supportive in a way that you, without stepping into and fix everything instead of your kids.
Yes.
So this is the lesson you learned, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't over-orchestrate. Don't over-manage. Just give them the supporting environment. Allow them to take risk. Gauge how deep the risk is. And just be there to support it with their failures. But allow them to jump in.
Excuse me for the question, but will you do it in case if you're going to be a grandma once?
I personally think as a grandmother, I would be far better now with my experiences. I would be willing to be less controlling, giving more freedom. And if you look back, that's exactly what my mother and my mother in law did with her. Probably I was far more controlling as a mother, but they, as a grandmother, were far more liberal with her, you know.
So you are saying that we inherit it from our moms?
We do
Probably.
inherit. We do inherit. My disciplinarian nature, my planning and organizing skills, my scheduling skills, you know, to avoid any unpredictable situation came from my mother, you know.
And then we learn how to let it go.
And then later on much later on in my life, I learned how to let go. You know, I wish I'd learned that earlier.
How do you feel you were always there when your daughter needed you?
I would say not necessary. I was, but my partner, my husband Naveen, did come forward, and both of us made sure that between the two of us, we were there for most of the critical events. It became even harder for both of us because we both were career oriented. And we did have corporate events in the evening to attend where both the spouses, you know, we both of us had to be available. That made it tougher. You know, many a times you would not see her. You would get to see her only in the morning when she wakes up. But I would make sure that I always wake up with her in the morning while she was having her breakfast. I was always there with her on the breakfast table. Even if I'd had short sleep or less sleep that night, that was my way of living with the guilt.
Or how old was she that time?
She must have been 7, 8 years old when we were in our mid-management roles. And and our career was on a high trajectory.
Can you share any of the beautiful chaos you had in your life as a mother, especially as a working mom, a time when things went hilariously wrong or unexpectedly right?
Not a funny incident, I would say, but I can definitely share one incident. My work over a period of time involved a lot of international travel. And I was consulting with one of the clients in Chicago, which was US, absolutely reverse time zone. That time we were living in India. So before leaving, for 1 week, I would make sure that the entire breakfast menu was put up on the refrigerator for the helper to make sure that her lunch menu was written on the refrigerator. I would do all those things to the extent that I would stay up late in US to call up during the day here in India to talk to my daughter and in my own conversation figure out whether that menu was followed or not. And in my own nice way, I would also check with the helper if it was delivered the way I'd asked her to deliver. I just realized that this was kind of, I was taking upon myself a lot more. When I came back, I felt that I was completely burnt out because with my frequent travel, client-facing job, this was getting tougher and tougher. And one day my friend had to sit me down and said, "Why won't you drop the ball? What makes you think that when you're gone, your husband is not going to be equally caring for her?"
When was this question asked? Sorry.
This question was asked by my friend.
But when? What time? During this period of time?
During this period.
Okay.
That when you're traveling, what makes you think that he wouldn't care for her equally when you're gone? What happens if you don't put the breakfast menu and the lunch menu on the fridge?
Could you answer the question?
One particular travel, what I did, Edith, I did not prepare anything. I just left. And when I called up, I was pleasantly surprised over the weekend. These guys were out for a run early morning by the seaside, followed by coconut water for breakfast. They were eating pizzas. They were having a great time together. When I came back, I saw she was a happier person because my husband and she had spent so much of time together, which I wasn't giving them the chance because I had orchestrated that 1 week so much for her that there was no room for anyone to maneuver. And I just realized that little bit of delegating, dropping the ball for somebody else to pick it up is so important, And I think that was a great learning that I got at that time.
If you went back in time, would you do it somehow else?
Yes, I would. I would.
But with your experience, right?
Yes, with my experience now. That time I wasn't experienced. I had to take that up as a chance. But now that I'm experienced, if you're surrounded by well intended people who are equally or more invested in you and your family, for sure I would take a chance. For sure I would take a chance.
As a coach to women leaders, what's the thing you wish everyone, every mom could hear about balancing motherhood and ambition, especially when guilt creeps in?
You know, this is a very interesting question you asked. And again, I can answer this with far greater clarity many years now, after having lived the motherhood the way I lived it when my daughter was young. By definition, guilt is, doing something wrong or, not being perfect. But here in this case, as a mother, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that you have set very high standards for yourself. And in some situations, you are falling slightly short of that high standard. So overall, if you see, your report card is still excellent. It's still above average, which is fantastic. So I do not know why mothers get into the guilt trip. At best, you can say that, hey, I wanted to deliver here, I've delivered here, which is good enough, which is not bad at all, right? And that is something I always tell my women. I've been a executive coach, and in my portfolio of coaching, I almost have 5 women at this moment. And I have been telling all of them that make choices, do not regret, because you get multiple chances to correct yourself. Just learn from your mistakes, do better, move forward. Don't constantly live in the past, and don't live with this guilt or regret. You made a choice to step down and not work. Great, it's a great choice. You made a choice to continue with your career. I made a choice to continue with my career, and I have no regret, no guilt about it, considering how she has shaped up, and she's doing wonderfully well in her career too. I have no regret.
If we go into deeper depth, maybe, do you have any practical steps for moms how to just let go this supermom myth?
Having it all, or being a super mom requires tremendous amount of energy, resilience, patience, and it's not easy to sustain, on an ongoing basis. And that is why unrealistic standard of perfection that many of us, are always left with the feeling of failure. No matter how much we achieve, we all the time feel that we are falling short of what we set our standards for. It implies constant balance, complete control, and no trade-offs, which is impossible in my mind. There would be moments, if you're a working mom, that you would do well in your professional life or you would do very well in your family life. Take a lot of energy from where it's going well. Managing the highest standards in both can be, it's not sustainable. It's difficult and energy draining. Your priorities shift. And when your priorities shift, here I wanted to bring the concept of career versus job. Many a times, if you are in a high priority where you need to spend a lot of time with your child, maybe it's a job that you are in, where you just need to deliver 9 to 5. You would do good enough and just be back. I'm not aspiring to get promotions. I'm not aspiring to become a CEO. When I'm done with that situation and I am now ready to step up, I can pursue my career. And that is when I can step up my energy and I can say, hey, this is now I want to pursue and put more energy into my professional life. And this shift between job versus career is something we can cautiously or consciously choose in our career and prioritize. What is more important depending on what phase of life you are in. And this, in my mind, is a perfect way to Juggleverse and navigate this Juggleverse.
How do you see in your professional career and your experience that where these perfectionism come from? How do we get to the point that we want to put perfectionism in everything? How do you see that?
An honest communication at work, many a times, Edit, helps. When my husband was shifting to Singapore, I was at a very interesting phase in my career. I had joined one of the financial services organization as the global head of HR. It looked like a very interesting assignment, and it was very, very early in my career to give that up and move with him to Singapore. He and I decided that I would continue with that assignment in Mumbai and he would move to Singapore.
With your daughter, right?
She was with me initially. And after 1 year, she said, "Oh, I wanted to study in UWC. Now that dad is in Singapore, can I go and study in UWC?" I said, "That is subject to if you get an admission there." And she did. And she, 1 year later, also moved with him here. And I was left behind in Mumbai, pursuing my career. And that was an agreement the family had. Remember one thing, in this one agreement that we as a family always had, that family comes first. If at any point in time there is a, God forbid, crisis situation where either of us are required, we are going to drop everything and be there. It was non-negotiable that I would still be pursuing my career at that point in time because I'm also a responsible mother. But since things were all looking good, this was some kind of a juggleverse that I needed to be in. And I chose to stay back in Bombay, which was fully supported by my partner. Now, in this situation, the perfection is that, I wanted to deliver that role with perfection, which I got more time now that I didn't have to manage home. But I also wanted to make sure that I gave enough time in Singapore. I went to the chairman whom I was reporting to and I said, once in a month, I am going to be in Singapore over the weekend. And that particular Monday, I could arrive at work a bit late, which I hadn't expected at it. He said that, listen, we are setting up our Singapore office. I'll be perfectly fine for you to work for 1 week in a month from Singapore. And I'm empowering you and I trust you that you would choose the time when it is convenient, and it's not going to be disruptive for the organization here because the larger part of the organization was in Mumbai. I think I had never spent that much time with my daughter as much as I spent in those 4.5 years because I used to work from home. I got 2 full weekends with her. And then when I would go back 3 weeks, I was like all in with perfection with my role as a global head of HR with this company. We grew that firm from 600 employees to 8,000 employees, from one city location in Mumbai to pan-India operations with offices in Singapore and other locations internationally. So I think I was so proud of the decision that I took at that point in time.
And also you had the courage to ask the question, right?
And I had the courage to ask that question. Not only this, next year, seeing my commitment to work and how I was managing this travel with all honesty and integrity, he even started paying for my travel to Singapore every month. And I was also honest with him that I'm not sure how long this arrangement would go on, but I'm trying to give in my best. And I didn't realize that I ended up spending 4.5 years in that organization, commuting up and down between Singapore and Bombay.
So what's the lesson learned from this situation?
Take a courageous step. Ask for help. Universe will conspire to make things happen for you.
As a coach and a supportive leader for women, do you also support your daughter's career at the moment?
Interesting. As an HR professional, one has seen the corporate life and have a very strong understanding of how to navigate those situations. My daughter does consult me in her professional career and the situations that she is in, but it is highly, highly recommended not to be a coach to people known to you or to your family member. So I would say that more like a mentor, more when she's seeking any advice, but I wouldn't volunteer any help unless solicited.
So we should look for maybe an independent consulting, uh, not from the family and not from the acquaintances, right? What we have
Yes.
around us.
There was once in her career, she was at a difficult spot in which she was finding it difficult to navigate. And she came up to me and she said, I need some coaching help. I introduced her to some professional coaches in the market. I told them to kind of talk to her directly, negotiate the costing depending on what her affordability was. And I set the boundaries very clearly, even with these coach friends. As per the coaching ethics, you need not share anything with me as a mother. That's completely between you and her. And she did benefit from that coaching session. She did come back and said that was excellent idea that, you put me through someone. But as a mother, I never play a professional coach with her. But we do discuss her professional life, and I do give her an HR perspective of how to see things from the top, and not see necessarily from her angle. So I do give her a 360-degree view of the situation that could potentially be for her to take more informed decision. And I hope that has helped her. No, not sure. But as I said, never give an unsolicited feedback or never help unless asked for. So I refrain unless she approaches, unless she is sharing a situation with me. Otherwise, I refrain.
As your daughter is an adult already, how is your career now?
Now that she's an adult and she is not living with us, she's married, she's got her own home, I do have far greater time and opportunity to step up my career. Which is fantastic. I'm currently also teaching an HR leadership program, which I had co-created along with other professors for National University of Singapore. This is an HR leadership program for aspiring CHROs. This is the 5th cohort that I'm teaching, and there are almost 70 plus participants in this cohort this year. I am an executive coach, as I said. I almost have 7 coachees in my portfolio at this moment, and 5 of them being women. That is where I'm spending most of my time. I'm also going to be teaching for one of the business school, for the entrepreneurial course. This is largely on the people leadership program. I would be taking 20 hours of classroom session for one of those, for one of that business school. Another topic that I'm extremely passionate about is HR tech and artificial intelligence. Just had a panel discussion in India on this topic, along with the other HR professionals. That was very well received. I plan to continue to read and study and do some consulting work in this space because this is this is something which is very close to my heart. So yes, full energy all the time, focusing on my career now because no more distractions. I don't have any other distraction now.
Yet.
Yes, yet.
All right, Shaily, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your journey, your wisdom. Thanks for coming, really.
Thank you,
really
Edith.
Appreciate that.
It was so joyful. Thank you.
Because juggling isn't about perfection. It's about intention, courage, and sometimes letting a ball drop so we can pick up what matters most. Remember, you don't have to do it all. You are never alone in this beautiful chaos. If today's conversation resonated with you, share this episode with a fellow mom who needs a boost. And don't forget to subscribe for more real talk here on the Juggleverse. Until next time, keep juggling, keep growing, and keep laughing.